Hello! Hello. Today, I'm going to be explaining the Arrowverse to you, starting where it all began with Arrow Season 1. In my humble opinion, Season 1 of Arrow is the greatest season of television to ever exist. And that's just a fact. Arrow's a show from the CW. The CW is kind of notorious for having shows that aren't really that great, like Riverdale.
I'm weird. I'm a weirdo.
Arrow got so popular that it spawned its own companion show called The Flash, which got so popular that The Flash spawned another spin-off companion show, Supergirl, which got so popular that I'm sure you understand the trend at this point. So many shows are connected to this. The entire Arrowverse all started with Arrow, and all of the shows in the Arrowverse cross over with each other at least one time per season. There's an insanely massive crossover episode, and I'm sure if you've heard of the Arrowverse, you definitely have heard of the crossover episodes. Oh, they're wild. But we can't cross over anything until we explain how we got here. The humble beginnings of the Arrowverse all started with Arrow Season 1. And that's what I'm going to be explaining to you today. I'm going to be explaining the entire plot of Arrow Season 1 to you, so that you don't have to watch 23 episodes worth of this, okay? My main inspirations for making this video were Mike's Mike and Carrie Can Read, but there have been countless other YouTubers who have made videos like this before me, and I'm not the first and I won't be the last, so there you go. Also behind me, there's this giant-ass visual aid. If you don't care about the explanation for any of the visual aid, you can skip ahead. I have timestamps in the description to every single episode, so you can skip around. But if you'd like to understand my visual aid, I'm going to explain it to you right now. First things first, you'll notice that the board is split into 3 different sections. So we've got the main section of the board right here. This is present day. These are all of our main characters, and this mostly takes place in Starling City in the present day. Then we have this little sliver up at the top here. This is the island of Lian Yu. Everything that happens in this section of the board happens 5 years ago. Down here in the bottom corner is like the villain corner. Because the way that this show works, much like a lot of other superhero TV shows, is each episode we get introduced to a brand new villain. That villain is dealt with by the end of the episode, and then in the next episode, we get introduced to a completely new villain who gets dealt with by the end of that episode, and the cycle continues all throughout the season. There are villains on the main board here that are recurring villains, that are more major villains. They don't disappear after one episode. It takes multiple episodes to take these guys down, and some of them don't even go down. Okay? Some of these MFers survive until season 2. And I did not print out pictures of every single villain. I printed out Barbie images instead, you know, the animated Barbie movies. So we've got Preminger on the board, we've got Wenlock on the board, Preminger's little minions. And then, the next thing you're gonna notice, string. There's string on the board. Before I talk about each episode, I will be adding the connections that we learn about in that episode. So, these are the connections that we get in episode 1, the pilot. You'll see yellow string. It connects family members, okay? So it connects brothers to sisters. It connects fathers to daughters. It's also going to connect in-laws. That will be important for later. Then we have the pink string, which connects romantic relationships. Then we have the blue string. Blue string connects friends to each other. Then we have the white string. These connect characters who are very closely intertwined with each other, but we're not quite sure what their relationship is yet. The opposite of the pink string is the red string. These are the hate strings. Any characters that are connected by a red string do not like each other. It can be as simple as 2 characters who just don't get along, all the way up to these characters are mortal enemies. And there's one more color string that is not on the board yet, and that is green. Any characters that are connected by a green string will be associates. They'll be in cahoots with each other. They'll be conspiring together. They'll know each other's secret identity, something of that kind of sort. One more color-coded system on this board. You will notice behind each of the characters, there are different colored papers. There's characters that are outlined in orange are my favorite characters. I would die for these characters. I would jump in front of a moving train to save them. Characters that are outlined in pink are characters that I consider girl bosses. To me, for the purposes of this video, a girl boss is a gender-neutral term. These are characters that don't listen when they're told no. These are characters who will go above and beyond, and they will, like, seek out answers, and they won't stop when people tell them to stop. Then we have the blue characters. Characters that are outlined in blue are characters that I just genuinely like. They're not my favorites. I wouldn't consider them girl bosses, but I enjoy watching them, okay? We have red characters. Any character outlined in red, I hate. Character that's outlined in red, when they come on the screen, I just roll my eyes. I'm like, ew, you again. Ugh. And then every other character is outlined in green. These are just the ones that I don't really care about. So if they're outlined in green, who gives a shit, really? They're just kind of there. Without further ado, we can finally jump into it. Let's talk about it. Season 1, Episode 1, Pilot. We open on an island. There is a man wearing a green hood. He's got a bow and arrow. He is running for his life right now, okay? We're not quite sure what he's running from, if it's a person, an animal, but he's running. He runs to the top of a mountain. He does some parkour to get there. He shoots a flaming arrow at a signal fire. This signal fire ignites, and a fisherman's boat that's in the distance sees the fire and comes to rescue this man in the green hood. The man in the green hood's name is Oliver Queen. He is right here, and he is also right here on the board. Oliver Queen is the main character of the show. He has been stranded on this island for 5 years. The island is called Lian Yu. It is Mandarin for Purgatory. That should tell you something about what goes on this island. He says in a dramatic voiceover when we first meet him that his only goal on the island was to survive. And now that he's been found and returned to Starling City, his only goal and objective is to, rid the city of the people who are, like, poisoning it from the inside out. His only goal, now that he's back in Starling City, is to take down bad guys. Boy, what is wrong with you, dude? Like, you just got rescued, and the first thought in your head is, I wanna be a vigilante. How about I want to see my friends and family, and I want to go smell some roses and eat a pizza. Like, get your fucking priorities straight, dude. We meet Moira Queen, a true girl boss. She is Oliver's mother, and she is very happy that he's back. The doctor tells Moira Queen 20% of his body is covered in scar tissue. 2nd-degree burns along his back and arms. X-rays show at least 12 different fractures that never properly healed. Moira, I'd like you to prepare yourself. The Oliver they found might not be the Oliver you lost. Then Moira takes Oliver back home to their mansion. Oh my god, they're billionaires! Of course they're fucking billionaires. Literally, how relatable. I love billionaires. Me and my friends, we're all billionaires. This is so relatable. I'm just relating to Oliver Queen more and more. I too was stranded on an island for 5 years, and I too am a fucking billionaire. So billionaire playboy Oliver Queen is reunited with his billionaire family at their mansion. So relatable. And at the Queen Mansion, we meet Walter Steele. This guy, lovely man. But Oliver straight up ignores him and just runs to his sister, Thea Queen. Thea, she's not cool yet, but she will be cool in later seasons. Just give her some time. And the maid, her name is Raisa, tells them that someone named Mr. Merlin wants to have dinner with them. But before we can figure out who Mr. Merlin is, we have a flash sideways to a law firm, and we meet another one of our main characters, Miss Laurel Lance. Girl boss extraordinaire, Laurel Lance. I am such a fan of Laurel. Laurel is working a case on some guy called Hunt. And while she's doing this, there is a TV in the law firm. On the news, she hears that billionaire playboy Oliver Queen has returned to Starling City. We learn that Oliver was the only survivor of a shipwreck. The ship was called the Queen's Gambit. Because of course, Oliver is the sole survivor of the Queen's Gambit shipwreck. Among the 7 deaths on board the ship, there was a girl named Sarah Lance, who is Laurel Lance's little sister, who died. What the fuck was Laurel's sister doing on this boat with Oliver Queen? We may never know. Flashback to Oliver, in the present. He is having one of many what I like to call PTSD flashbacks to the island, because that was very traumatic for him. So Oliver is having his first of many flashbacks. This one is of right before the ship goes down. He's talking to his father. There's a storm coming, and then we also see Sarah Lance in this clip as well. I didn't print out a picture of her, but I drew her. I drew her, and it's very clear that Oliver and Sarah are in some kind of romantic relationship on this boat. Flashback is interrupted by Mr. Merlin walking in. Mr. Tommy Merlin, the greatest character in the entire show, enters the fucking chat, bro. I love Tommy Merlin. Tommy is Oliver's best friend, okay? And he is ready to pick up where they left off. Tommy just starts giving him all the details on everything he missed while he was gone. They're at dinner. They're at a dinner table. It's Tommy, Moira, Thea, Walter, and Oliver. They're at this dinner table. The maid Raisa is also there serving them. And everyone's asking Oliver, hey dude, what the hell happened on that island? Give us the deets, bro. What went down on the island? And Oliver is dodging these questions. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. Oliver can also speak Russian, I guess, but Oliver is more concerned at the fact that his mother Moira here has married Walter Steele. Walter Steele isn't just some guy. The company that the Queens own is called Queen Consolidated. Robert, before he died, was the CEO, and Walter was his CFO, Chief Financial Officer, okay? And so Oliver is pissed that Moira married one of Robert's best friends. Like, Oliver, get the fuck over yourself, bro. Walter is such a nice guy. Did you expect your mother to just be a sad old widow for the rest of her life? She's Moira Girl Boss Queen. She's got bigger fish to fry. She can't spend her whole life being sad because her husband died. Oops. Like, she's got a life to live, Oliver. So that night, Oliver has a dream. It's another PTSD dream of Sarah Lance dying on the Queen's Gambit. He literally has a nightmare where he recalls her being pulled under by the waves. That's crazy traumatic. But he gets woken up from his little nightmare by his mother, and he doesn't just wake up like a normal person. When he's shaken awake by Moira, Oliver puts her in a chokehold before he realizes what he's doing, and then he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, Mom, I didn't mean it. And then he's like crying, and it's raining too, so it's extra dramatic. Then I wrote, Oliver opens a crusty musty crate and pulls out an arrowhead with some Chinese written on it. He gives this arrowhead to Speedy, which is the nickname that he gave to Thea when they were younger, because she runs fast. Like, okay, Speedy, that's a dumbass fucking name, but whatever. So Oliver gives Speedy this arrowhead that he had in a crate, and he says it's a symbol of reconnection, and he wants to reconnect with her. And she accepts it. She's like, oh my god, that's so sweet of you. Then Tommy shows up to take Oliver out on his first day back on the town, and he also makes a comment about Thea being hot. Keep that in your mind, Palace. Flashing back to Laurel at the law firm. She is talking to her unnamed work best friend about the Hunt case that they're working on. Adam Hunt is the guy's name. Turns out the judge is friends with Adam Hunt, so the case is not looking good for them. Like, it's gonna be a struggle. And then Oliver Queen shows up at the freaking law firm, and he's like, hey, Laurel, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing here, dude? I hate you. And they have a little chat. Oliver says that he's sorry about Sarah's death, and he actually tells Laurel that he blames himself for Sarah's death. Laurel drops a bomb on him. She does not hold back. She also reveals to the audience, not only was Oliver, sleeping with her sister, he was dating Laurel at the time. So he was cheating on Laurel with her sister, and then ultimately got her sister killed in a freaking boat accident. That's crazy. That's wild. So Laurel tells Oliver to leave her alone, stay out of her life. He meets back up with Tommy. Oliver and Tommy get attacked. Some thugs, they're wearing masks. They take Oliver and Tommy and tie him up somewhere. They also shoot a man in the process of this. These thugs want to know, did Robert survive the crash? Did Robert tell Oliver anything? Because there is something going on. Robert was involved with something, and these thugs want to know what Oliver knows. So during this interrogation scene, Oliver has another PTSD flashback. It's him and his father and another man, and they're on a lifeboat, and it's raining, and it's, Sarah just died in front of his eyes. And his father says this, I'm sorry. I thought I'd have more time. I'm not the man you think I am. I didn't build our city. I failed it. And I wasn't the only one. Wow, drama, suspense. Oliver manages to break out of his restraints, the zip ties or whatever. He breaks out of his restraints, kills 2 of the 3 thugs, and then proceeds to chase down the 3rd one, doing some absolutely epic parkour along the way, right? So he catches up to the 3rd thug, has him in a chokehold, and before he snaps his neck, Oliver says, "Nobody can know my secret." And then he snaps the man's neck. Absolutely crazy, Oliver. What the hell are you doing, buddy? Back at the Queen Mansion, Oliver and Tommy are there. They're being questioned by some cops. A detective, if you will. It's this man, Detective Lance. As in Laurel Lance, Sarah Lance, Mr. Lance. He does not like Oliver. So when Oliver explains that he was attacked and he was saved by a man wearing a green hood, Quinnen is like, his name's Quinnen Lance, by the way. Quinnen is like, yeah, likely story douchewad. And Tommy pretends he didn't see anything and is like, I don't know. He could be telling the truth. Lance leaves the scene with a sketch of the hood guy. After that, Oliver sees a headline about a man named Adam Hunt. The same Adam Hunt that Laurel is going after in court. Then, Oliver pulls out a tiny little notebook from his crusty, musty crate that he got that arrowhead from earlier. And this little notebook has a weird symbol on it, and it also has a list of names. We don't know who wrote this list. We don't know what these people are on the list for, but Oliver has this book, and it's got a list of names. Oliver has a kill list. Adam Hunt's name is on his little list. And then, while he's looking at his goofy little book, the maid Raisa comes in, and they have a touching little moment, and this is the last time we will see Raisa until season 6. After that, Moira Queen introduces Oliver to his new security guard, Mr. John Diggle. Dig. He goes by Diggle, he goes by Dig. They call him John. Dig is his new security guard. He's ex-military. He served in Afghanistan. I'm sure we're going to see flashbacks of that eventually. Dig's pretty hardcore. He seems like the type of guy that you can't get away from easily. Oh, what's that? Oliver ditches him immediately. Oh, what's that? Diggle's driving him somewhere, and then Oliver jumps out of a moving vehicle to get away from him. Does Oliver Queen have a death wish? Oliver Queen jumps out of a moving vehicle, runs away from his new security man, and then shows up at an abandoned factory, Queen Industrial, an abandoned factory that his father used to own. He's walking in, he's got 2 giant bags. It's giving hobo. Through a voiceover during a dramatic montage, Oliver explains to us that the man in the green hood is just beginning. Oliver starts renovating this Queen Industrial building. He's putting in a computer. He's putting in workout equipment. He starts whacking down walls. He's doing a lot of renovations down there by himself. It's giving Property Brothers. Then at the end of this montage, Oliver opens that same nasty, crusty crate, and he pulls out a bow and arrow. Then he shoots some tennis balls in rapid succession, and Oliver's really good with a bow and arrow. What, was there an archery class on Leanne Yu, brother? What is this? Through another dramatic voiceover, Oliver is now in his little bat cave. I'm gonna start referring to it as the arrow cave. So Oliver's in the arrow cave that he just dug out of the dirt. And he's explaining that Adam Hunt is on his list. And then he goes and shows up. He pays Adam Hunt a visit. He kills 3 of Adam Hunt's security guards and then threatens Adam and says, "You need to transfer $40 million into this bank account by 10 p.m. tomorrow or I'm gonna do something to you, buddy. I'm gonna come get you." Hunt immediately goes to the cops and tells them that some crazy lunatic in a green hood killed 3 of his security guards and then threatened him to transfer $40 million. And the cops are like, "Okay, dude, we are gonna stake out your building. We are gonna protect you. We're gonna make sure this lunatic doesn't come and get you." And Hunt also hired a hot security guard. Preminger is Adam Hunt. Wenlock is the hot security guard. These were the thugs, by the way, from earlier. Anyway. Oh, I didn't mention this. Tommy is throwing Oliver a welcome back to the dead. Congratulations on not dying party. Welcome back home party. Tommy's throwing this party at a building that is right across from Adam Hunt's office, because of course it is. At the party, Oliver gives a very awe-inspiring speech. He stands up on the table, the music stops, he's got a drink in his hand, and he says, "I miss tequila!" And everyone cheers. Wow. Give it up for Playboy Oliver Queen, everyone. He just So profound. Anyway, after this inspiring speech, we learn that Oliver doesn't know what Twilight is. Then we see Miss Thea Speedy Queen doing a drug deal in the middle of the party. So Oliver swoops in. He tells her, Thea, don't do drugs. She's like, leave me alone, bud. When you were gone, it was really hard for me. Like, I needed to do things to cope too. So, like, don't judge me. Okay? And he's like, fine, whatever. And then she walks away, but not before he pickpockets her, steals the drugs from her, and throws the drugs in the trash. Laurel shows up at the party to apologize to Oliver for exploding at him the other day. She's like, that was really out of line. I shouldn't have yelled at you like that. I mean, I'm glad that you're alive, dude. Like, I'm glad you're back, and if you ever want to talk about what happened to you on that island, I'm here and I'll listen, and, like, you know, she still cares for him. But Oliver pulls an Uno reverse card on her and is like, no, Laurel, you were right. I haven't changed. You need to stay away from me. Stay far away from me, girl, because I will fuck you up again. And she is very not happy about this. She's like, I just came to apologize and you're trying to push me away? What the hell? So now she's pissed at Oliver. Oh, Oliver's at the party. Diggle is also at the party, watching his every move. Oliver needs to evade Diggle so that he can suit up in his hood outfit and go get Adam Hunt, because it's 10 p.m. and, oop, no money. So Oliver evades John Diggle, puts on his hood, and then shows up to Adam Hunt's office. He kills 4 people, including the hot bodyguard, on his way to Hunt. He then shoots an arrow. It misses Hunt and hits the wall. Hunt's like, hey dude, you missed. And Oliver's like, I never miss. And then he zip lines. He crashes through the window, zip lines back down to his party. Detective Lance is there, right? Because he was there the whole time. He sees the hood guy go to this building where Oliver's party is. So of course the cops come and try and shut the party down because the vigilante hood guy is at the party. So Lance shows up. Lance goes up to Tommy Merlin and he says, oh, Mr. Merlin, imagine my shock at finding you here. Did you roofie anyone special tonight? Absolutely crazy thing to say, and Tommy Merlin is just standing there smirking at him! He's got the smuggest smirk on his little face. So in this moment, Tommy Merlin is now officially my favorite character, so I'm going to give him the favorite character crown. So then Oliver shows up to the scene after Lance just totally dissed Tommy in the most epic way possible. Oliver shows up and then he says to Detective Lance, he says in front of the entire party, the music has stopped, he's standing on the table again, and he gives another inspiring speech, and Oliver says, I'll give $2 million to anybody who can find a nut bar and a green hood. And then the party rages on, and Lance just leaves. Tommy says, Oliver, it's a really crazy coincidence that the hood guy saved us and then he also, you know, was at our party. Like, that's kind of a coincidence that our party just happened to be right where the hood needed to be, like. And Oliver says, hey, Tommy, just be happy that you're alive. Yo, Oliver, what the fuck is that, bro? Are you serious? Keep lying to Tommy Merlin, because that's not gonna affect anything negatively at all. Next day, we flash to Adam Hunt. He's in his office. He's screaming on his phone because $40 million is now mysteriously missing from his account. Oh, I don't know why. Maybe it's because there's an arrow stuck in your wall that's got a piece of technology on the end of it, and it's draining your bank account through Bluetooth or some shit. I don't know how it works. I don't think we're supposed to know how it works, but the arrow that missed Adam Hunt and got stuck into his wall is what's draining the money out of his account. If Mr. Hunt had just turned around a little bit, he would have maybe noticed. Oliver uses the money that he just stole from Adam Hunt and he transfers it to all of Adam Hunt's victims, and Oliver crosses Adam Hunt's name off the list. We get another PTSD memory from Oliver's time on the island. So they're on the lifeboat. Robert Queen, always the drama queen, okay? He says, Oliver, right my wrongs. And then he takes a gun and he shoots the other man that's on the life raft with them. Oliver freaks out. He, like, scrambles away from him. And then Robert puts the gun to his own head and says, survive. And then he shoots himself. And Oliver is just sitting on this raft panicking, like, what the fuck just happened, bro? We're at the law firm with Miss Laurel Lance. She gets a call from one of her clients that was a victim of Adam Hunt. Client calls Laurel and is like, hey, I just received $50,000 out of literally nowhere. What should I do? And then Laurel's like, maybe don't tell anyone. Then Tommy shows up at the law firm to see Laurel, and we learn that while Oliver was out running around on the island learning how to shoot arrows and do parkour, Laurel and Tommy were in a friends with benefits type relationship. And Tommy is like, hey, Laurel, do you want to be my actual girlfriend? Like, I want to be your boyfriend, Laurel. And so she refuses to date him officially, but he's not going to give up. Before Tommy leaves Laurel, he calls her by her full name, which is Diana Laurel Lance. And if you're a DC Comics fan, that might mean something to you, but don't get too excited, because it doesn't pay off for a while. Oliver was like watching this whole thing happen, and then through voiceover, he says, she's right. The island did change me, but she has no idea how much. There are many more names on the list. Those who rule this city with intimidation and fear. Every last one of them will wish I died on that island. Okay, drama queen. Final scene of this episode is of Moira Queen. Absolute slay. It's Moira Queen, and she is talking to somebody, but we don't see who she's talking to. She reveals that she hired the thugs to go and beat up Oliver and Tommy to prove that Oliver doesn't know anything about Robert, or whatever Robert was associated with. Moira Queen sent armed, dangerous thugs to question her son about whatever conspiracy her dead husband was involved in. Insane. At the end of episode 1, Oliver gave 9 dramatic speeches. He had 5 smart remarks, and he had 9 dramatic pauses. He also killed 10 people. I am keeping a kill count. Okay, and I've verified this kill count with some sources online. I got the right number. Episode 2, Honor Thy Father. At the beginning of this episode, the hood guy, it's just Oliver in a green hood, he targets some dude called Marcus Redman, and he hits Mr. Marcus Redman with his famous catchphrase, "You have failed this city." He's gonna say that a lot. Marcus Redman's not really important. The hood threatens him, and he does whatever he asks. We cut to the Queen Mansion. It's the next day. Oliver is chatting with his mother. They need to go to court because Oliver has been legally dead for 5 years, so they need to go to court to make him legally alive again. Oliver, Tommy, Moira, Walter, and Diggle go to the courthouse. Court happens, it's pretty dramatic, but Oliver is now legally alive again. On the way out of court, Oliver and Tommy run into Laurel. She is with her still unnamed work bestie and a client, shown here as Alina from Fairytopia. Her client's name is Emily Nascenti. Laurel does not want to talk to Oliver because if you recall from literally the last episode, he told her to go fuck off. And she's pissed. Outside the courthouse, there's a man named Martin Somers, and he's giving a speech to the press. It's very vague. He's not taking responsibility for whatever he's accused of, obviously. Oliver hops into his limo, and Diggle and Tommy have a moment where they're chatting, and in that moment, Oliver drives away without either of them. Laurel's representing Emily Nascenti. Emily Nascenti's father, Victor Nascenti, was allegedly killed by Martin Somers. Martin Somers is portrayed here by Rumpel Goocher. Fungus Maximus! Now, Laurel says in her opening statement that Mr. Somers is working with the Chinese triad. Through voiceover, we learn that Martin Somers is among the names on Oliver's funny little list. Of course, Oliver suits up and goes after Martin Somers, and he threatens him, and he says, you need to testify in court that you killed Victor Nascenti or else. Title screen. So, Moira confronts John Diggle about Oliver consistently ditching him, consistently getting away. She's like, I am paying you to watch my son, and yet he keeps running away from you. Like, then Oliver shows up, and he's like, it's not Dig's fault. I promise I won't do it again. I've just been sneaking away to see a girl. You know, I'm such a playboy. Then Thea walks by, and she's all dressed up. She's ready to go out, and Oliver's like, where you going? And she's like, I'm going to get drunk. Thea is 17 years old. Detective Lance goes to Martin Somers' dock. He works on the docks, I guess. So Detective Lance goes to visit Rumpel Goocher, and he sees that there's a notch in Martin Somers' desk that perfectly fits one of the hood's arrows, okay? But Martin Somers insists that the vigilante hood guy was not at his docks, and Detective Lance should just stay out of his business, okay? Martin Somers does not want the police involved. Oliver then decides to pay a visit to the family company Queen Consolidated. There, Moira and Walter tell him that they want him to become the new CEO in Robert's stead. Oliver does not want to be the CEO. He has better shit to do. He tells his mom and Walter that he doesn't want to be the CEO, and he also gets mad at them again for being married. Oliver, let these two consenting adults live, laugh, love. Is that too much to ask? We get another PTSD memory from Oliver. This time, he's watching the crows eat his father's corpse. Oliver pukes at the sight of this. Back at CNRI, which is the law firm that Laurel works for, Detective Lance shows up and he wants to put Laurel and her client, Emily Nocenti, under protective custody because he knows that the vigilante was involved and he attacked Somers. So he puts them under protective custody, and you'll very quickly learn that in this universe, protective police custody, fucking useless. Some white-haired lady shows up to the docks to meet with Somers. Right here she is, at the bottom of our board. This lady with white hair, she's Chinese, she shows up at the docks to meet with Somers. She's from the Triad, and she says that she wants Somers to kill Emily Nocenti and Laurel Lance, because, you know, she's the lawyer involved in all of this, because, you know, they don't want the truth to come out, because Martin Somers did have Victor Nocenti killed. At this time in the story, we don't know what this woman's name is, but I can tell you what it is because I know. Her name is Chen Na Wei, and her English name, I would like you to guess. Just place your bets right now. Think in your head, what is this woman's name? She is from China, and she has white hair, so her name must be China White. Was J.K. Rowling in the writer's room? Because China White is serving Cho Chang realness. And before you say anything, you comic book freaks, I know that her name is China White in the comics, but when they adapted this for TV, they could have changed it. China White. Thea, who is kind of mad at Oliver because he's being super distant and mean to her, she takes Oliver to see his own gravestone, which is on the Queen's property, of course, because they're billionaires, remember. Thea says to Oliver that she used to come visit his gravestone whenever she was having a bad day and just chat with him. And she says, and this is heartbreaking, she says, I felt closer to you when you were dead. We're at Laurel's house. There's a knock on the door. She opens it. It's Oliver. He brought ice cream. The two of them sit together and they eat ice cream and they kind of rekindle their little bond of friendship. And they talk about Sarah. Oliver confides in Laurel that his mother wants him to join the company, be the CEO, but he doesn't want to. And Laurel is like, yeah, that sounds like some shit you would say. And then she also tells him, well, if they aren't listening when you say no, then you have to do something to show them that you don't want to be part of the company. During their little chat, there's a clanging noise that Oliver hears, and he's like, someone's on the fire escape. And then he, tells Laurel to go hide, and then China White pops in. There's also some other guys with her, and they're trying to kill Laurel, and then Diggle shows up just in time, because remember, Diggle follows Oliver every fucking where. So Diggle pops in, he kills the two goons that China White brought with her, and then China manages to escape, but not before a very dramatic moment where China White has a gun and she's pointing it at Diggle, and then Oliver grabs a kitchen knife and expertly throws the kitchen knife and disarms China White with a kitchen knife, and then she runs away. At the precinct, Detective Lance tells Oliver to stay away from his daughter, and then he thanks John Diggle for saving her life. Diggle is catching on to Oliver's combat skills. He's like, Oliver, that knife you fucking threw to disarm that lady's gun, it wasn't even weighted. It's not even a throwing knife. It's just a kitchen knife. And Oliver's like, I got lucky. But Diggle's catching on. Diggle is not that easily fooled. In a voiceover, Oliver says that he's gonna go after Martin Somers himself because he doesn't want Laurel to get hurt. So, Laurel and her father have another fight. Quinn Lance wants Laurel to get off the Somers case because she's in real danger, but Laurel is such a girl boss, lawyer extraordinaire that she refuses to give up, okay? She refuses to drop the case. This conversation ends because Lance gets a radio call about the Hood guy being at the docks, so Lance goes to the docks. And then he goes up to Martin Somers and forces a confession out of him. China White shows up again to fight Oliver, so they obviously don't like each other. But it's broken up when the police show up, and China White flees the scene, and then Oliver also flees the scene, but not before shooting an arrow at Detective Lance. But he doesn't hit him with it, he hits the wall behind him. It's like Adam Hunt all over again. Shoots the wall, and attached to the arrow is like a voice recording of Martin Somers confessing to killing Victor Innocenti. The ribbon cutting ceremony for Queen Consolidated, Oliver shows up late and drunk, and he gets up on the stage, and he says in front of cameras and people and paparazzi, he says that he is never going to be like his father and he will never be CEO of the company, and then he completely disgraces his family name and just leaves. Martin Somers gets arrested because the testimony that the hood guy got was enough evidence to put him in jail. Detective Lance tells Laurel that his only mission in life now is to catch the archer. Oliver then crosses Martin Somers' name off his list. We get a PTSD flashback. Again, Oliver is about to bury his father's dead, decaying corpse, and before he does, he finds a little notebook in his father's pocket. It is the very same notebook that he is currently crossing names off of, except in the flashback, the only thing in the notebook is the weird little image. Like, there's no words on it. There's no name, there's no list, it's completely blank. Moira Queen meets with some mystery man. We know it's a man because we hear him speak. I can only assume that this man that she's talking to is also very attractive. Just a hunch. Anyway, Moira Queen says he doesn't know that the yacht was sabotaged. She knew the Queen's Gambit was sabotaged, and she let her fucking son get on that boat? Moira! Moira is keeping secrets, okay? She's keeping hella secrets. Oliver goes to see his father's grave and his own grave one more time, and he has some excavators come and remove his grave because he doesn't need it anymore. The episode ends with a Leanne Yu flashback. Oliver is on the island. He gets shot in the shoulder by an arrow, and we see the shooter is a completely different man, but he's wearing the green hood. This guy. I accidentally didn't print his picture out, so I just drew one. Oliver made 13 dramatic speeches. We had 8 smart remarks and 11 dramatic pauses. He also killed 12 people.
Episode 3, Lone Gunman. Through a voiceover, Oliver re-explains his mission to save the city, uses some big words like virulent, and then explains that he's going after a man called James Holder. He shows up at James Holder's house to threaten him, but before he can say, "You have failed this city," a sniper from a couple roofs over shoots Holder in the chest, and he dies. The sniper then tries to shoot at Oliver too. A bullet grazes his shoulder, and he gets away. Title screen. Back at the Arrow Cave, Oliver stitches up his wound himself. He doesn't even grunt. He's just so strong and pain resistant, I guess. He crosses James Holder's name off of his list, and he's about to, try and find somebody else to catch that day, but the bullet he was shot with was laced with some kind of poison, and Oliver starts to, wobble and shake and feel poisoned. He grabs some magic herbs that he has in his crusty musty crate and then just drinks them, and then he passes out. Another flashback to the island. We see Oliver again. He's still got that arrow in his arm. The man who shot him goes up to him and then pulls the arrow out of his shoulder. It's a very excruciating moment for Oliver Queen. Back in the present, Oliver wakes up from his little slumber at the Arrow Cave and returns home to the Queen Mansion. There, Thea and Moira are having a heated discussion, if you will, because Thea has been arrested for breaking into a shop, and she was drunk, and she stole some things. And Moira is just going to pay off the owner and keep her record clean. Thea leaves, and then Oliver is like, "Mom, you're a terrible parent. You need to ground her or something." And she's like, "Oliver, respectfully, don't tell me what to do." And nobody in this family is really happy with each other right now. We're at the crime scene. We are with Lance and his cop buddy. This is Lieutenant Frank Pike, the first of many Franks that we will meet in the show. They're discussing what happened because there's arrows at the scene, but there was also bullets, like bullets killed the guy, so they're not really sure what happened there, you know, it's a bit confusing for these guys. Meanwhile, in the Arrow Cave, Oliver tests his blood for what kind of poison was used, and he figures out that it's called curare, a rare and deadly poison. The killer's unique MO. Shut up, Oliver. What is this, Criminal Minds? Oliver does a basic Google search, and he figures out that this curare poison is linked to a gun for hire called Deadshot. So this week, Oliver decides that instead of going after someone on his list, he's gonna go after Deadshot. Then we get our first look at Mr. Deadshot. We don't see his face yet. We just see his bare chest. Bare abs and chest, okay? He is tattooed like crazy. His tattoos are just like the names of all of his victims, and he's currently tattooing another name onto his chest in this moment, and it is the name of James Holder. Oliver and Tommy are talking, and Oliver says that he wants to open a nightclub in the Glades, specifically in the Queen Industrial Building, the abandoned factory that he uses as his Arrow Cave. He wants to put a nightclub there so that he has an alibi for what he's doing at night. Tommy suggests that before they open up a club, they go scope out the best club in town, Max Fuller's Club. Oliver doesn't want to go to Max Fuller's Club because he slept with Max Fuller's wife during their rehearsal dinner for their wedding. Okay, Oliver. We finally get a name for Laurel's unnamed work friend. It is Joanna. Joanna is so cute. She is as stereotypical as it gets, I'm afraid, but she's a cutie. Joanna catches Laurel on her work computer looking up Oliver Queen's name. But Joanna sees this and she's like, Laurel, you're clearly not over this guy. Need I remind you what he did to you and your freaking family? She says, Laurel, we are gonna go clubbing tonight. Which is very convenient because Oliver is also going clubbing. Moira takes Oliver's advice from earlier and confronts Thea. Moira says, Thea, you're grounded. Thea laughs at her and just ignores her. She just walks away. Oliver is doing parkour. He's trying to backtrack where the shooter was shooting from. Maybe he could find a bullet or something that he could run his own ballistics on. So he's doing parkour all around the street until he finds a notch in the wall of a random building, and it has a bullet in it, and he takes the bullet back to the Arrow Cave and starts running some tests on it. The evidence comes back to Lieutenant Pike, and they're going over it. Him and Quentin are going over it. Lieutenant Pike is convinced that the archer was the one that killed James Holder, but Lance is not convinced. He's like, I know this archer. I know this wasn't him. So Lance isn't convinced, and he says he's gonna go, quote, get his own evidence. Oliver's ballistics come back, and he discovers that the bullet has some kind of connection to the Bratva, which is the Russian mob. Oliver calls this some good luck. Wow, yeah, that sounds like great. I'm so glad this bullet's connected to the Russian mob. Oliver goes to a garage, which is where the Bratva hide out in Starling City, and he reveals to us and to these Bratva dudes that Oliver is a Bratva captain. And he wants the Bratva to, figure out where Deadshot is. So the main guy that Oliver deals with in the Bratva, his name is Alexei, and he is shown here as Rumpelgoocher. Oh, yeah, I didn't explain this. This is the first guy that died. What was his name? James Holder. And then this, Preminger here, is another guy that's about to get shot. And then this is Alexei Leonov, Rumpelgoocher. Deadshot then proceeds to kill another man named Carl Rasmussen. Turns out that Preminger and Wenlock here were both they were trying to buy a company called Unidac Industries. And it turns out that the cops, they piece that together and they go to talk to Walter Steele, who is also interested in buying Unidac Industries at the stock auction that's happening tomorrow. And Lance kind of vaguely threatens Walter. He's like, are you trying to take out your competition? And Walter's like, no, I'm literally an angel. Why would I do that? So Laurel and Joanna are now at Max Fuller's club. They're partying it up, living it up. Oliver and Tommy are also there, and so is Thea. Thea is there, and Thea is drunk, okay? She is not having a good night, or maybe she is having the best night of her life. We're not really sure, but she finds Oliver, Tommy, and Laurel and confronts them, and she reveals to Oliver that while he was away, Tommy and Laurel have been screwing each other on the side. So before Oliver can just take his sister and leave, he gets confronted by Max Fuller, And Max Fuller is not happy that Oliver's there. So Max Fuller and his little squad beat up Tommy and Oliver, and Laurel breaks up the fight, and then they all leave. Back on the island, Oliver tries to run away from the guy in the green hood. He's running for his life, and he gets caught in a net. Full on Barbie Magic of the Pegasus style. Like, he gets caught in this net, he gets swooped up all dramatic like, and then he's just hanging there. At Big Belly Burger, which Big Belly Burger is going to become a very important recurring set here. I guess it's the only place in town these people like to go eat. But anyway, we meet Carly. She is Diggle's sister-in-law. Oliver and Tommy have a little chat with each other. Turns out Oliver's pretty cool with the whole, Tommy and Laurel situation. Oliver doesn't really mind. Oliver at this dinner gets a call from the Bratva about Deadshot, so he leaves. Now the hood guy has Deadshot's last known address, so he goes there to try and find him. Deadshot is there, but he manages to escape before the hood guy catches up to him. This is also the first time we get a full body shot of Mr. Deadshot. Mr. Dead Hot Deadshot. Floyd Lawton. Anyway, Hottie McHotson gets away, and and he leaves behind a laptop, but this laptop is riddled with bullet holes. Oliver takes this laptop to Queen Consolidated, the IT department, and we finally meet Felicity Smoke. He gives the laptop to Felicity Smoke. She's like some kind of IT computer prodigy. And Felicity is like, she's really cute. She stumbles over her words. She says a lot of euphemisms by accident, She's kind of like a little bit comic relief in this moment in season 1. Oliver gives the bullet hole laptop to Felicity, and this is the conversation that they have. I was at my coffee shop surfing the web, and I spilt a latte on it. Really? Yeah, because these look like bullet holes. My coffee shop is in a bad neighborhood. This show is so funny when it wants to be like that. That is so funny, actually. The writers popped off with that one. Back at the mansion, Thea and Moira have a little bit of a heart-to-heart. Moira extends an olive branch to Thea. She's like, if you want to come to Walter's stock auction tonight, that would be really great if you did that. Felicity explains to Oliver that she found some blueprints on the computer. It is the place where the Unidac Industries auction is going to be held. They don't know who the targets are, so Oliver goes to Detective Lance for help. He calls the cops and he says, listen, there is going to be a shooter at the Unidac Industries auction. I know you don't like me, detective, but I need your help, okay? And Lance is like, okay, cool, I'll be there. But Lance isn't going to be there just to stop Deadshot. Lance wants to be there to catch the hood guy. At the auction, Thea chose to come because she wants to make nice with her mom. You know who else is there? Dead Hot, Deadshot, Floyd Lawton. Floyd Lawton has infiltrated the police. He killed one of the police officers on duty, took his walkie-talkie, and is now checking in to Detective Lance, saying that he's in position and the floor is clear, okay? Deadshot is ready to cause some chaos. The first person Deadshot loads up and aims at is Mr. Walter Steele. Lance sees the little red dot. What is it called? when you aim a sniper rifle and there's a sight, I don't know, the little crosshair? No, that's not right. The little red dot that means you're about to get shot, right? So Lance sees that, and he runs and pushes Walter out of the way of the bullet, so the bullet misses Walter. Diggle takes Thea and Moira to safety. Then he follows Oliver, who runs up a set of stairs. On his way up the stairs, Oliver pulls his green hood out of a trash can that he pre-planted there. He pulls the hood out of a trash can, he gets dressed real quick, runs up the steps. Diggle is following after him because of, that's his job. So they run up the steps. Oliver confronts Floyd Lawton. It's a very tense scene. Floyd Lawton is still very attractive. Oliver has Floyd Lawton in his crosshairs. Like, he's got his bow aimed. He's aiming at Floyd Lawton. Diggle shows up at this exact moment. Deadshot shoots, and so does Oliver. Oliver ends up shooting Deadshot in his eye. Floyd Lawton shoots John. Back on the island, the man who shot Oliver has come to his rescue. He cuts him out of the rope and then brings him back to a cave with him. There are soldiers on this island that are going to be looking for both of them. The episode ends with Oliver taking John Diggle back to the Arrow Cave, giving him the cure for curare, and then revealing his identity as the Green Arrow to John Diggle. End of episode. Oliver made 12 dramatic speeches, 5 smart remarks, 4 dramatic pauses, which is a crazy low number. He also killed 3 people. Deadshot killed 6 people in this episode. Episode 4, An Innocent Man. Diggle is not happy that Oliver is the guy in the hood. Oliver is like, hey, John Diggle, hey, Dig, want to join my crusade? And Diggle says, no, you're a murderer. And then he leaves. Title screen. Oliver goes back to the Queen Mansion and Laurel is there. Turns out she dropped by a while ago to see him, but he was not home. Laurel says, hey, Oliver, you need to start caring about your family, okay? Thea overhears this conversation. Back on the island, in the cave, it's Oliver and this mysterious man. Mysterious man delivers a bird in a cage to Oliver, and he keeps repeating some word in Chinese over and over again, and Oliver doesn't know what it is, and he doesn't know if this man even speaks English, but now there's this bird in front of him, and he just keeps repeating this word, like, what is going on right now? So Oliver just pulls out a photo of Laurel that was in his pocket, and he just, like, looks at it. Oliver finds Thea watching a true crime documentary about a man named Peter Declan. This dude, Peter Declan, portrayed here by Ken, murdered Barbie, his own wife. Did it in his baby's room. Thea tells Oliver to just talk to Laurel and try to do something to show her that he's changed, because he has changed since the island. And Thea really wants them to mend their relationship. Moira hired a new bodyguard to replace John Diggle because John Diggle quit this morning. The new bodyguard is Rob Scott, shown here as Taemin from Super M. But Rob Scott is the new bodyguard, and Oliver's like, okay, cool. Did Diggle say anything before he left? Because he's all nervous. Like, did Diggle reveal his secret? No, Diggle did not. He kept his mouth shut about Oliver's nighttime activities. The TV is on because it's always on, and there's a news report going on about Peter Declan, the man that we just learned about, and turns out Peter Declan is set to be killed. He's gonna die in 2 days. On the news report, Oliver also hears that Peter Declan's dead wife, Camille Declan, was working for a man called Jason Brodeur, portrayed here by Preminger. After hearing the name Jason Brodeur, Oliver is like, I gotta go, because Jason Brodeur is on the list. The Archer pays a visit to Laurel. He shows up at her house, cuts the lights all dramatic, and is like, Laurel Lance, I need you to work the Declan case. They're about to sentence an innocent man to death, and I need you to stop it. And she's like, but Peter Declan's literally going to die in 2 days. Like, what am I supposed to do? And he's like, figure it out. So Laurel decides to be Declan's lawyer. She goes to visit him in prison, and he reveals the truth about what happened, that he and his wife were arguing because she discovered something about Jason Brodeur dumping chemicals, and she wanted to blow the whistle on Brodeur. Peter was like, girl, no. Don't do that. This is dangerous. Like, you shouldn't get involved with this. But Camille was dead set on revealing this information, and then he woke up the next morning, and Camille was dead. Laurel believes him. Walter discovers that $2.6 million just mysteriously went missing from, Queen Consolidated's accounts. He confronts Moira about this, and she's like, it's probably nothing, but she looks guilty. Laurel goes to Detective Lance for help on the Declan case, and he reveals that Camille's supervisor, a man named Matt Istook, portrayed here by Rumple Goocher.
Maximus!
So, Lance reveals to Laurel that Matt Istook was Camille Declan's supervisor, and he gave a statement to the police that said he didn't even see Camille Declan that day, and so Laurel takes this information to the vigilante. Oliver spends some time with Diggle at Big Belly Burger, and he asks him again, even more dramatically this time, to join the crusade, because it turns out that Diggle had a brother. His brother's name was Andy. Andy is dead. Andy was killed, murdered by Floyd Lawton, because the bullets that killed Andy were laced with curare, and Oliver figured that out, so that means Floyd Lawton killed Andy, and because Oliver just killed Floyd Lawton, meaning that he got revenge for John, and so therefore John should join Oliver's crusade, because Oliver just did him a solid. Moira tells Walter that she remembers what happened to the $2.6 million. She invested it in a friend's startup 3 years ago. It's nothing to look into. Walter is skeptical of this. The Hood pays Laurel a visit. She tells him everything that she learned about Matt Istook. The Hood's like, okay, cool, I'm gonna go talk to Matt Istook. Walter goes to Felicity Smoke at Queen Consolidated, and he asks her to discreetly look into that $2.6 million because he doesn't really believe the shit Moira is spewing. Felicity in this scene is just so cute. Like, that's peak Felicity right there. That is a great scene for her. The Hood ties Matt Istook, portrayed here as Rumple Goocher,
The Hood ties Rumpelgoocher to some train tracks. There is a train coming in the distance, and he's like, confess, tell me, give me some evidence, tell me something. And then Matt is like, okay, there's a file on my desk, it has all you need to know in it, like, please don't let this train run me over. And at the very last second, Oliver cuts him off the train tracks and then disappears. We get a flashback to the island. Oliver figures out that the island man wants him to kill the bird. The archer goes back to Laurel, gives her the file that he took from Mr. Matt Is-Took, and it seems like Laurel might have a crush on the vigilante. Is this some miraculous ladybug shit? I don't think I can deal with that right now, Oliver. Rob Scott shows up at the Queen Mansion. He got ditched by Oliver again, and Oliver says this banger. He's like, Rob, you gotta keep up. That sends Rob over the freaking edge, and he quits. Laurel brings the file of new evidence about the Declan case to the judge. Judge says, that's not enough evidence. That's not enough for me to reopen the case and postpone the death penalty. We overhear a conversation between Declan's lawyers to Declan, and they say that they have friends in Iron Heights prison, and they're gonna take care of Peter Declan. They're gonna move up his execution. The Hood guy meets with Laurel one more time on the rooftops, and he's like, what do you need to save Declan? Okay, I will get whatever you need. And Laurel's like, well, at this point, we just need, like, an actual signed confession from Jason Brodeur. Like, there's no way. And Oliver's like, consider it done, and he goes to get that confession. Felicity reveals to Walter that the $2.6 million was not invested in some random friend's startup. It was actually invested in an LLC called Tempest, which has no other records other than it just exists, and they bought a warehouse. This company spent that money on a warehouse. The Hood visits Jason Brodeur. Brodeur says, listen, I'm not going to confess because Peter Declan, he's about to be dead, okay? And Oliver's like, shit, fuck. So he goes to Iron Heights prison because Laurel's there, and he doesn't want Laurel to get caught in the crossfires of, you know, Declan getting murdered by some thugs, right? So now the Hood guy is at Iron Heights, Laurel is at Iron Heights. The prisoners at Iron Heights get released, they start a huge riot, and they go after Peter Declan and Laurel. The Hood guy is there, but he's not wearing the hood, okay? He is dressed in a police uniform, head-to-toe police uniform, except there's one little thing. He's wearing a black ski mask with the police uniform, and nobody bats an eyelash at this. Nobody looks at the man in the ski mask and the cop's uniform and thinks, that might not be a real cop. Nobody thinks that. He just walks right in there, dressed as a police, in a ski mask. And he's able to save Laurel, and nobody tries to arrest him. He manages to save Laurel. He also is he kills some people while he's there. And Laurel doesn't like that. You know, she's not really into the whole murder thing. So she stops him from killing another guy, and then he disappears, and Peter Declan is saved. Laurel speaks with her father again, and he reveals that Jason Brodeur has been arrested, and Peter Declan is off of death row now, so that's great. Laurel also tells her father that she doesn't trust the vigilante because he's a murderer, and she sees that now, and Quinnen is glad that she sees that because he doesn't want her to have anything to do with this dangerous vigilante. Back on the island, Oliver finally snaps the bird's neck and eats it. Okay, he finally mans up. Walter goes to the storage locker that Felicity found, and he's typing in passcodes on the little keypad. The password that ends up working is Robert. He goes inside of this storage locker. It's a huge-ass storage locker, by the way. And what is inside? The remains of the Queen's Gambit. What the fuck did he just stumble into, bro? Walter is getting his nose into some dangerous territory right now. Lance and some kind of hacker at the police station, some police IT guy, I don't fucking know, they're going over the footage from the Unidac Industries shooting because the Hood was there, okay? And Lance knows that they definitely must have caught him on camera at some point, so they're going through all the cameras, and they find footage of Oliver Queen running up the steps and pulling the freaking hood out of a trash can and then putting it on. Lance knows, okay? The cops know it's Oliver. Oliver crosses Brodeur off his list. Back on the island, we learn that this island man can actually speak English the whole time. So he tells Oliver that that word he kept repeating over and over actually means survive in English. And he also says that he needs to stop looking at that photo of Laurel because that's not going to help him survive. Moira
meets with the mystery man again, this time in the back of a car, and this time we get to see his face, bro. His beautiful, gorgeous face. We don't know who he is, but this is what he looks like. Mr. Hottie here figures out that the vigilante is targeting names on the list, okay? At the Queen Mansion, Diggle shows back up. He becomes Oliver's bodyguard again, and he agrees to join Oliver's crusade. Just then, the cops show up to the Queen Mansion. It's Lance, and he is here to arrest Oliver for, being the vigilante. For episode 4, here's our stats. Oliver made 10 dramatic speeches. He made 6 smart remarks. He had 8 dramatic pauses, 2 kills. Episode 5, damaged. Oliver and the Island Man, they are together. They're hunting. The Island Man shoots a bow and arrow and he kills a rabbit. Tells Oliver to go get the rabbit. Oliver goes to get the rabbit, but he gets caught by some soldiers and locked up in a cage. Through a dramatic voiceover, Oliver explains to us that even though the cops caught him, he's going to escape. Okay, this isn't the end for the hood. Title screen. We're at the precinct. Detective Lance, who famously hates Oliver, is questioning him, and Oliver's like, I want Laurel as my lawyer, okay? Don't talk to me until Laurel gets here. And Lance is like, yeah, right, she's never gonna agree to that. Laurel agrees to be Oliver's lawyer. The judge sets Oliver's bail at, a small $15 million. He's able to stay at home under house arrest as long as he wears an ankle monitor. Laurel makes a comment during the court proceedings that she knows that Oliver couldn't possibly be the vigilante because the vigilante cares about people and the city, and Oliver is a massive douche. So they couldn't possibly be the same person. When Oliver gets back home, he decides he wants to throw a prison-themed party at the mansion. Laurel and her father argue over the fact that she is representing Oliver Queen in court. She's like, shut up, dude. Like, I make my own decisions. You might be a police officer, but you can't police me. Oliver asks John Diggle to follow some guy named Leo Mueller around. He's an arms dealer, or something. He's portrayed by Wenlock on the board. He also makes a Batman reference when he says, you know us billionaire vigilantes, we love our toys. Walter is still looking into this Tempest business with the Queen's Gambit, and he asked his head of security, Josiah, portrayed by Jungkook. So he asked Josiah, the head of security, to look into it for him. For Oliver's trial, the prosecution is willing to accept a plea of insanity, because, Oliver is insane, but Oliver's like, no, I'm innocent, I'm not the vigilante, and I want to do a polygraph in front of Detective Lance because he's not going to believe a word I say. On the island, Oliver is taken to this man, General Fires, okay? He's British. Fires asks Oliver for information on where his little friend is. Where's Yao Fei? Oliver is not giving up any information on where Yao Fei is. Fires asks nicely. Oliver doesn't give him any information, so Fires sends in this guy in the two-tone mask to go and torture Oliver. During the polygraph scene, Oliver's answering all of the questions, and he confesses that he murdered Sarah in front of Lance. Quinnen still doesn't care. Like, he still thinks Oliver is evil. He still thinks Oliver is the vigilante. The polygraph did not change his mind. And in between shots of Oliver answering polygraph questions, we get clips of PTSD Oliver on the island getting stabbed by the guy in the mask. So, during Oliver's prison party, he has Diggle dress up in the Arrow costume and go get the arms dealer. Go stop this arms deal. Walter gets a call saying that Josiah is dead. Okay, he had Josiah look into this Queen's Gambit, and now he's dead. Bye, bitch. At the prison party, Laurel shows up, and she apologizes to Oliver for her father's actions, He's just really emotional, and she is defending him and apologizing for him. So Laurel is like, I want to see your scars, and he shows her his scars on his sexy buff chest, and she's looking at it, and they're getting really close, and then they kiss. And then Laurel runs away because, oops, shouldn't have done that. Then, back on the island, Oliver, who has just been tortured within an inch of his life, gets rescued by this guy in the hood, Yao Fei. Diggle, dressed as the vigilante, successfully stops Leo Mueller's arms deal. Walter mans up. He girl bosses up and he goes to talk to Moira. He's like, listen, Moira, I found the gambit, okay? So it's time you start explaining yourself. And she's like, Walter, stop. She says if he keeps looking into this, he is going to upset people with influence. At the prison party, Oliver is in his room. Laurel had just run away from him. Oliver's in his room. A waiter with a gun, shown here as Preminger, shows up, knocks on the door, and he wants to kill Oliver. Lance saves Oliver, and then he unarrests him. He lets him go because all the charges have been dropped. They spotted the hood guy, at the arms deal, and it couldn't have possibly been Oliver because he was here the whole time. After that party, Moira goes to confront Mystery Man about what just happened to Oliver because he sent the waiter with a gun to kill Oliver, and Moira's like, now, why would you do that, okay? I told you my son is innocent. And when I say shit, you listen, because I am Moira Queen. Moira Queen slays. Anyway, so Moira confronts him. That's very girl boss of her, because this man is pretty scary, and I wouldn't want to do that. So I'm going to give Moira the girl boss badge. Moira is the ultimate girl boss. But he is just like, listen, I did what I had to do. Like, I'm sure you understand. And she's like, I don't fucking understand, bro. Stay away from my son. Leave Oliver out of this. Back on the island, the mystery man has just successfully saved Oliver. He throws Oliver back in the cave, and then he leaves the cave. He leaves Oliver there. The next day, Laurel confronts Oliver about the polygraph results because she thinks that he lied on the polygraph. And she's wondering, if he's able to lie on a polygraph, what else has he been lying about? Huh? At the end of the episode, Oliver goes out and kills Leo Mueller. In this episode, Oliver made 12 dramatic speeches. He had 8 smart remarks and, 21 dramatic pauses. He also killed 2 people. Deeply sorry to inform you, but I do have to cut this video into multiple parts. I didn't want to do this. I wish I could just make the whole thing one giant video, but I am running with limited storage. I'm doing this all on my little tiny iPhone that I haven't upgraded since freshman year of high school. So yeah, but I'm not going to make you wait for the next parts. They are already uploaded. The link to the next one is in the description. It's the first link. It says part 2, all caps. You can just click it. It'll take you right there and we'll pick up exactly where we left off. I would like to thank you if you made it to the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Really appreciate that. You might as well leave a like. You spent all this time watching. I want to make more videos like this, but I don't. It's a completely different thing from everything I've been doing on this channel. Like, I'm a crochet channel. And I didn't crochet anything in this video. I crocheted this hat. Part 2 and the rest of the parts are in the description. So go ahead and watch that and I will see you there.